can't believe I'm about to say this. It's Wednesday the 12th of March. I think I'm pregnant. So this would be month 2 of Jay and I trying for a baby. I didn't think we were gonna get to this point at like this stage of trying, especially because I was doing ovulation tests like for 2 months, and I didn't think that I was going to end up falling pregnant on the 2nd month. Because it's Wednesday the 12th. I should have started my period yesterday, and normally you get like telltale signs. The only signs I've had are like sore boobs, and that's it. I've not really had anything else, and I felt nauseous, and I've had like my normal symptoms of what I would get before having a period, and I had like some weird pain, which if I remember rightly I had last month, but I had really bad period pains last month, like really bad period pains, and I've not had anything. I haven't told Jay that I've not officially started my period. I told him yesterday, I was like, oh, I've not started yet, and then was like, threw him off the scent by being like, but I've had signs, and he's not put 2 and 2 together. But yesterday, bless him, he did say to me, he was like, I really hope that you're pregnant, I really hope that you're pregnant. I'm gonna surprise him. It's the 12th. His birthday is at the end of March. I think I'm gonna surprise him on his birthday. So between now and then, somehow got to keep it together and not tell him. Been so close to telling him like twice, being like, I don't think my period's here, I think I need to do a test. I've not told him, but it also means I don't want to do a test yet. I want to wait until my period is definitely like a week late, because you never know, it might come. So let's see what happens. It is Wednesday the Thursday the 13th. I've not made it literally like 24 hours, and I want to tell Jay because I am so tired. I am exhausted, but I also feel really nauseous, and I don't know how he's not gotten on to it. I think it's because he thinks it's just my anxiety, and he just thinks that I'm just really run down, because I've made comments about it, and he just like, as in like I said, I feel nauseous, I feel really hormonal, feel really emotional, feel really tired. He's not put 2 and 2 together. He is none the wiser, but I do need to be careful about what I'm saying. But at the same time, I need to be mindful of not saying too much, but not saying nothing, because if I say nothing, look at him. If I say nothing, he's gonna think something weird's going on. But it's 13th. What would it be? How many days have I got until the 31st? I've got 18 days. I've got 18 days. That's 2.5 weeks to not tell him. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Typically, Jay's just called. I've still not told him, but he's just called me going, I feel really rough. And I'm like, right, okay. And he's like, but yeah, I spoke to Dad, and I was with him 2 days ago, and he's now got sickness and diarrhea. Am I going to have to tell him? He's also said, oh, I'm probably going to be off tomorrow if I still feel this way, so I'm not going to go to work. And I've realised I have an Amazon delivery coming with 2 pregnancy tests in. Honestly, I just want to surprise him on his birthday. I might just go down the route of, oh, if you feel poorly, like, one of us will sleep on the sofa, we won't share a room. Maybe we do that, and then he won't know. Why isn't it plain sailing? Why isn't it plain sailing? Hello everybody. I haven't even got a watch on. I'm really nervous. I've got this little voice in the back of my head going, what if it's not? Okay. I dip it in, swirl it around. I'm scared. I dip it in. Like the last time I did this and Jay was on the phone, so I felt like he was with me because he was sat in the other room whilst he was on the phone to someone else. And then when it came back, I was literally like, get off the phone. Right, let's do this. It's the 14th. Okay, let's do this. Three, 4, 5. Okay. And I'm going to put it down face down so I don't see it. It's definitely half past now. Jay keeps ringing me as well because he wants to talk about something to do with work. I'm scared. I'm not going to look at it first. You guys look at it first. Oh, I'm too scared. What the hell? Oh my God. We're having a baby. It looks really faint. No, it isn't. It's clear as day. It's clear as day. Oh my gosh. We are so lucky. We are so lucky. We definitely haven't made it to Jay's birthday. It is the 15th. So it's the day after I took my test. And I was just sat on the floor playing with Archie and Jay was like, I wish we could have a second one. And he went, what's happened to your period? Because it's not come. And I was like, yeah, it has. I've had it for 5 days. And he was like, no, you haven't. And I went, yeah, I have. And he just went, he stood in the kitchen, he's smiling at me and he went, you're trying to be sneaky. You haven't had it. Like, you're trying to be sneaky. And I'm just stood there going, don't. And then he went, you're trying to be sneaky. Like, it's fine. Like, you've not had it. And I just went, you've just ruined your surprise. And he was like, what? And I just was like, we're having a second. So thankfully, the stuff has arrived. Minus Archie's little jumper, which is fine because we can use that when we tell everyone else.
You're already filming?
Yes. I've already explained.
I look slimmer in this one than I did in the one when we announced we're having Archie. I still watch that back and think I look like...
What have you done?
I don't know. Fucking shoes.
No, don't turn it up.
Oh.
Oh, for God's sake.
What do I do? I can't... Help me.
You're opening your birthday present like weeks in advance. You know what it is.
Oh my God! No way. Look at that. Oh.
It's gonna be tiny.
Coming soon. I'm more excited for that than I am for the new season of Stranger Things to come out. That's wicked. Well done, babe.
You're so awkward.
I don't know what you actually want me to say.
Well done, babe.
It's good.
It's dark. I'm in the car. I'm on my own. Come with me to my first midwife booking an appointment. And I'm terrified. Terrified. I'm here by myself because Jay has got to look after Arch. And we can't bring Archie to the appointment because, like, it's in the hospital. So I'm going by myself and I'm absolutely terrified. I have just got to the hospital and I have just parked. But I am now gonna go in. I'm really early. Just got back from the midwife. 2 seconds. Archie's eating a yogurt. So, I just got back from like the second half of my booking an appointment with the team in Northamptonshire. So I've now got 2 packs. I've got my pack for Milton Keynes. I've just thrown it the wrong way. I've got my pack for Milton Keynes, and then I've got my pack for Northampton. And this one is just like leaflets after leaflets after leaflets. Oh, and there's a pea pot in there. So for the pea pot in there, I'll put the pea pot that I picked up and pop it in the MK one. So I've now got 2 lots of maternity notes, which seems a bit excessive. And I also was like, can't I just put everything in one pack? But anyway, I've just had a blood test and my arm feels a bit weird, to be honest with you. I'm going to hydrate because that always makes me feel better after I've had a test. It feels really weird because I obviously did all of this when I was with Archie. But I've gone and I have seen, it's so funny, I've seen the ladies that I saw when I was pregnant with Archie, so it just felt really weird. Like, it felt a full circle moment, a true full circle moment. And it felt positive, it felt good. It felt good. Hello everyone. So at this point I think I will have pulled footage together for kind of like our first trimester video. I did one for Archie, so I feel like I need to be doing one for us. I am literally at the end of my first trimester. Well, I'm in my second trimester, aren't I? Because I am 12 plus 2, 12 plus 3. I'm going to go double check that actually. I'm actually 12-4. So I thought I was. I'm 12 weeks 4. 12 weeks 4 days. And tomorrow is our 12-week scan, which is kind of scary. I'm not going to lie. But I'm definitely like, I've just had one of those weird days today. You'll probably, if you've watched all my other vlogs, if you remember the day where Archie headbutted me in the face, that's today. So I'm really emotional, just as it is. And now I'm really hormonal. But basically, Jay and I had got childcare for Archie for tomorrow. No one knows that we're pregnant. And it's on us as to why we're not telling anyone, because Jay's little sister's pregnant and we don't want to take the limelight away from her. We want to make sure that she has her moment and she gets to fully enjoy it, because it's not nice when people try and take the limelight. So, and it's not our intention at all. Like, Jay and I have always wanted 2 under 2, and yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, yeah, we're not telling anyone that we're pregnant, and we're probably not going to tell anyone that we're pregnant until we've been to the 20-week scan. Because we think from our workings out that the 20-week scan is also going to be when everyone else has given birth, hopefully, fingers crossed. So then that means, let me work that out actually, because that would be in 8 weeks time. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. What would that be? That'd be the beginning of July. Potentially everyone will have given birth. Jay's best friend will have definitely had their baby. Their baby's due in June, so it might just be that we have to wait a couple more weeks. If that's the case, then that's the case. However, long story short, I've gone off on a complete and utter tangent. We were meant to have childcare tomorrow so that we could go to the 12-week scan. We haven't told anyone that we have a scan tomorrow. No one even has an inkling of anything going on. I even said to Jay the other day, just say Lauren's got a hospital appointment, which is factually correct. And if anyone says, why she got a hospital appointment, just say it's linked to my gluten, because obviously I'm going through the process of trying to work out what's going on with me and gluten. Anyway, Jay's mum and dad phoned up Jay this afternoon and was like, we're sick, we can't have Archie tomorrow because we've got infections and we don't want to give it to him, which I totally understand, totally get it. But as soon as Jay said it to me, he was like, so what are we going to do? And I was like, well, we're not allowed to take for the NHS scans, the like children aren't allowed in the room, so you have to sit outside with Archie. And I was like, I don't even know if you're allowed to bring Archie into the waiting room. I have checked the thing, and it says basically you can bring a family member with you to come into the scans, but you can't have children in the room. So if you are taking your children, they need to sit in the waiting room with an accompanied adult, because they can't be left in the waiting room on their own. So Jay and Archie are going to come to the appointment together, whereas it was meant to be just Jay and I, so that Jay could come into the appointment. And it's all just a little bit sad. I'm really nervous about the appointment for tomorrow. So at this point in my pregnancy, when I was with Archie, I had my 12-week scan at 12 weeks, like 12 weeks to the day, I had my scan. And then we found out that I was further along. So I found out in my 12-week scan that I was actually 13 weeks. So I think I was like 13 plus 3 or something. And then I'd also had like an early scan, because I'd had bleeding early on in my pregnancy last time. And we'd already seen like the baby and everything. Like we'd seen the cells. I've seen nothing. We've not been anywhere. We've been to I've just been to both of my midwife appointments. Jay hasn't been there for them. I did a telephone booking appointment as well, and Jay was next to me, but he was asleep because he'd fallen back asleep because he'd watched an event. So it's just another appointment that I'm going to on my own, and Jay, bless him's upset. So like when I started crying, because I was like, it's just been one of those days today, and I got upset that he's not coming to the appointment, and it was just giving me flashbacks to Archie's pregnancy, because the last scan I had with Archie, Jay could have made it there on time. However, the lady came out into the waiting room and was like, can I scan you early? I need to be cheeky, I need to leave. And I was like, but my husband's not here. And she was like, okay, but I want to scan you early. So basically she ended up scanning me early. Whole appointment finished. Jay was literally walking down the corridor and the appointment had finished. So it made me really sad. And now Jay doesn't get to do the first scan. And it's just made me feel really sad, because he's not going to be allowed in the room. And I'm also really, really nervous as well, because I've not had like, I don't know, like it's really weird. Like you get to 12 weeks and if you've not had like any checkups or anything like that, and the only thing you've done is had like your bloods taken at the midwives and stuff like that, I'm literally like, are you okay in there? Like, are you all right? Like, it sounds really stupid, but like, are you there? And I've got to go through the appointment tomorrow, and I'm just, quite frankly, I'm terrified. Really, really nervous, really, really terrified about the appointment tomorrow. So I'm going to have to do it on my own. But thankfully, if he can sit in the waiting room with Arch, it then means that like he's there if I do need him or whatnot. So yeah, it's just a bit like we were getting all excited and was like all happy and everything, and it is what it is. Like we have no way of changing it. I just said to Jay, like, I wish we could have had like foreshadowing for it and just been like, let's have booked an early private scan. But we've looked at like window to the womb, because we know that we want to do that for like the gender, because we don't want to find out the gender until it's just us two and Arch, because I want Arch to be a part of it. So that means if we're at an NHS scan, Archie's not going to be there to find out with us. So we're going to go for a private scan. We're going to get it put in an envelope, and then we're going to do like a little cutesy thing. I've got like an idea in my head of what I want, something really low key, but something that we can do the three of us. And Oz can be a part of it too. Am I lying in bed? Yeah. Am I tired? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to use the opportunity whilst Archie's having a nap to kind of rest myself. I am so tired. We've got back from the hospital. It's still... When we were pregnant with Archie, it felt so real all the time, because it was all we could think about, that we were having, like, Archie. This pregnancy just doesn't, like... I've just seen our little one. Honestly, I could have cried in the moment. I had tears literally coming out of my eyes. So thankfully, the sonographer was literally just like ignoring me, because got a bit emosh. The relief, the sheer relief that Bubba is okay and they're growing away beautifully inside and they're happy. Just crazy, absolutely crazy. But anyway, even though like I've seen the scan, I've literally watched the baby inside of me like moving. Honestly, I can't get over it. It moves around so much more compared to what Archie did as well. So like they were just moving so much, like moving their legs, rolling, like turning away, rolling around. Made it really, really difficult for the sonographer to take the measurements of the fluid behind their neck, bless them. But honestly, that relief when you first see the baby on the screen, second, see them move or see the flutter, check the brain, like all that lot. There is no way to describe that relief at all. It was just so sad that Jay, bless him, and Archie were just sat outside the waiting room the whole time, and I was in there for so long, and I can't even begin to imagine what was going through Jay's head because I was in that room for forever. And I came out and I was like, I really need to go to the toilet because she'd been pressing on my bladder. And like, he was looking at me and he was like, is everything okay? And I think he was asking me if everything was okay, but he was talking to the baby. And then as I came out of the bathroom, I tried to wee as fast as I could. Like, it was the quickest wee I've ever done because I was like, I need to get out there and reassure my husband and be like, everything's fine. I went over to him and I was just like, just smiling. And as soon as I was smiling, like Jay could tell from my reaction, he was literally like, oh, thank goodness. And then we got the pictures and that special moment of just going over with the scans and sitting next to Jay and Arch and just like showing both of them, being like, look. And bless Jay, he was like, after we showed the pictures to like Archie, we were then like, Jay, bless him, was like, babe, can you hold Arch for a bit? I just want to have a look at the scans. I was like, of course. So like I held Archie for a bit and like interacted with him. But it's such a weird feeling coming out of the scan and then like seeing our second baby and then going out to my first and giving him a cuddle and like a sniff, because obviously that's what you do. And it all feels so surreal. And like I've come home and I still feel like, what, like we've got a second child. Like we found out our estimated due date as well is actually 2 days later than what the app said. So whereas funnily enough, when we were pregnant with Archie, we were actually a week and a few days later, we're actually only 2 days later. So I've got my due date, which is crazy. Like absolutely crazy. We came into 2025 going like another year of being just like the three of us and the dog, and we will probably like go into 2026 knowing that we're going to have a second child. No. Change of plan. We have gone into 2025 a family of 3 with Aussie dog, and we are leaving 2025 as a family of 4 with Aussie dog, which is crazy, so surreal. I feel so emotional and just so fortunate and so blessed, and it's just such a beautiful journey, and everyone I saw today was just so lovely, like so lovely. So yeah, had my bloods taken as well. We made the choice to have the screening done. Our decision, our choice, we're allowed to make that. So just got to wait for those blood test results to come back in the next 7 to 10 days via letter. And yeah, crazy. Got to wait the 8 weeks now to then go to the 20-week scan on the NHS. I think we're going to book. I'm going to speak to Jay about it. I think we're going to book the gender reveal scan and go private, so that we can take Arch with us, so that he can see the baby on the screen and like it's all a bit of a nice thing, but then also so that the three of us can sit together at a later date with Oz and find out what we're having, what our final addition to the family is going to be. Mental. It's crazy. What in the world? What in the world? This is hard. This is me from the future, teary-eyed and emotional, but I realised when I was looking back at the footage that I had filmed and I was kind of putting it together in the right order, there's just gaps and there's like context missing and stuff. So I'm going to try and fill the gaps as best as possible. This gap that I'm going to close from the future is what happened between the 12-week scan, because the last clip you will have seen would have been me the day we came home from the 12-week scan, and I was in bed and we were all really excited and really happy. And then kind of what happened between the 12-week scan and having an operation, because even though in the grand scheme of things it was like a week, so much happened in that week, which is what brought us in a roundabout way to here. So at the 12-week scan, we had the combined screening done. So that's where they look at your scan, and they look at like the NT measurement, and then they also look at your bloods. So it looks at hormones and stuff within your bloods. It takes into consideration like your weight, your age, smoking status, whether you drink, your BMI, kind of like a whole range of things. So basically we had the combined screening test done. Thought nothing of it because we had it done when we had Arch, and we got a letter through the post like 7 to 10 days later, and it was like everything was normal. With this pregnancy, it wasn't. Had the screening test done on the Friday. We got a phone call on the Tuesday. So they had literally done the screening test and we got the phone call straight away. We got a phone call on the Tuesday from the fetal medicine team, and it was to do with like the genetics, and it was to do with screening for 3 different chromosomal disorders, looking at Edwards, Patau's and Down syndrome. Edwards and Patau's were completely normal readings for us. They were like what you would expect for someone of my age, and just a normal pregnancy. Down syndrome came back as a higher... Whoa. It's silly little things when you're talking about it that hit you. Down syndrome came back as a higher risk. At that point we were given a statistic and it was 1 in 99. So Jay and I, being the people that we are, we started researching immediately, was like looking into things. We discussed with the fetal medicine team what our options were. So you can either go down the route of having a NIPT test, which is an NIPT. It basically is another blood test. It looks for the baby's DNA within your own blood. And it basically takes the DNA, it extracts it, it tries to work out what the DNA is saying, because then it looks for the extra chromosome or any like gaps or deletions within the DNA to then pinpoint towards whichever syndrome it is that it is. And when you have a NIPT, they also look at all 3 syndromes rather than being like, look, you've had a higher risk for Down syndrome, but we will test you for the other 2, even though we know your readings are kind of normal, because if we're doing the test, we might as well do it for everything. Then there was the other option of skipping the NIPT and going straight to diagnostic. Diagnostic is where it specifically takes the baby's DNA from either the cells from the placenta, but with that, when you have like the CVS, you have the risk of, I think it was mosaicism, like mosaic something or other, and that's basically where sometimes the placenta's cells can be different ever so slightly to the baby cells, and it's very rare, but it can be that the placenta has got the DNA for a chromosomal disorder, however the baby itself is fit and healthy. Or the other one is an amniocentesis. So with a CVS, you can have that up to 14.5 weeks. That was what we were explained about. Or you can have amniocentesis, which is done from 15 weeks of pregnancy, and that is where they extract some of the amniotic fluid from around the baby, because that will contain the baby's cells, and then they look at the DNA structure of that. At the time with Jay, we made the decision of, there's a ever so small risk, it's like 0.5 to 1% of people that go and have diagnostic testing, so the CVS or the amniocentesis, are at a risk of having a miscarriage. It's like 1 in 200, I believe, but for our area, if you had that done and you focus on just the area of where we are, it's actually 1 in 400, so the risk is even lower if you had that. However, the risk is still there, and at that point we were like, we're 1 in 99, so there's a 98 out of 99 chance that the baby was completely healthy, which pushed us to have the NIPT done, because it's just a blood test and it's not directly doing anything diagnostic to get like a definitive yes or no. However, the NIPT had a 99.9% accuracy rate, so we kind of weighed it up and was like, look, it's got 99.9% accurate rate. If it comes back and it's a higher risk, then we go down the route of diagnostic. So we went in on the Thursday and we basically discussed through the options, and then we went back on the Friday to the hospital to have the NIPT done. I have to say, at that point, out of the two of us, Jay was the one that was more positive about the situation and the outcome and the numbers. I had vocalised to Jay kind of like throughout the whole process that I just had a gut feeling there was something not quite right, and the more we were getting information about, the more I was going, something's not right. I'm not feeling optimistic in this situation. I'm trying to cling on to hope and be like positive about it, but I just wasn't. Within myself, I felt there was something wrong. So we had the NIPS done on Friday morning. The sample got sent off to London that day. On the Tuesday again, I got a phone call, and as soon as I saw the hospital number pop up on my phone, I wasn't expecting the result to come back that quickly. So basically, when they do the testing, they say to you, it will take between 7 to 10 working days to come back to you. I'd had the test done on the Friday, was not expecting any kind of phone call until at least probably the following Friday at the earliest. But sadly, that wasn't to play, like that wasn't how it was going to happen. Got a phone call on the Tuesday, and the lady from fetal medicine basically explained to us that the test result came back. And the baby was at a higher risk of, definitely a higher risk of Down syndrome. So at that point, it was kind of just like talking through the options of like what we do if the baby, like what we do moving forward. Because with Down syndrome, there's a whole spectrum. You could have a child with Down syndrome on one side that has as normal of a life as possible. And then you have the other end of the spectrum where you could end up with a child with Down syndrome that is bedridden, not able to go to the toilet by themselves, has other medical conditions, and in Jay and I's opinion not necessarily having the best quality of life. You, at that point, also have to kind of think about, I don't want to go into it too much because you open yourself up to other people's opinions. This is our story. This is our experience and our decision because it's our family. I understand other people have other people's, like, they have their own opinions about things, and that's great. That's your life. However, if I did what your opinion was, your opinion is just your opinion. You're not the person that's going to be living it and doing our life. So yeah, it's tricky. So we were having to weigh up basically like the impact it would have on Archie, what would happen if something happened to Jay and I. The responsibility would then fall to our son. Our son is 15 months old, I may add, so making that decision for a 15-month-old is a tough decision. But also looking at like the impact it would have on our family life, the impact it would also have on us working. It's always something that you consider when you have children. How are you going to get the balance right so that your children have the best possible life they do, like the best quality of life, but also so that you and your husband have the best quality of life. And like, we run a business, so it was just trying to like think of all the possibilities and kind of like weighing up everything. So basically, Jay and I made the decision that we were going to go for the diagnostic testing because that's what we have to do. Either you are not necessarily, some people have the viewpoint of the universe wants us to have the child like this way. So we don't need to have the diagnostic testing because it's not going to change any outcome whatsoever. However, for us, we needed the diagnostic testing because it was going to impact our decision. Even though the NIPT is 99.9% accurate, they have to do the diagnostic test to basically give you a definite, a confirmed answer. So we got referred to John Radcliffe. Literally within the space of an hour of me speaking to Milton Keynes, they referred us to John Radcliffe. So John Radcliffe phoned me within an hour and basically were like, you're 14 weeks pregnant this week, so we kind of need to get a move on as to whether you want to do the CVS or the amniocentesis, because if you have the CVS, you have to get it done by 14 and a half. There was also a bank holiday weekend coming up. They were busy. So they were like, if we're going to do anything, we kind of need to get a move on. Thankfully, they had an appointment at 8:30 the very next day. So Jay and I went for the CVS route. We went for the CVS. We turned up at John Radcliffe on the Thursday morning, and it was hard. You're sat in a waiting room surrounded by loads of other pregnant women of different ages, different gestation. So there's people that there were a lot further along than I was, but had completely healthy babies. They were just coming in for normal routine blood tests and just normal blood tests because it was a working hospital. It was a working women's clinic. So they weren't there for like genetic testing. They were there for just like routine checkups and stuff. The thing that I found really hard being sat in that waiting room was that every single person that came in, when they were given their date of births, they were like, I think the youngest one there was 5 years older than me. And it was hard to just sit in that waiting room knowing that we had almost been, like, just knowing what we're going through. You then start getting annoyed at yourself, thinking of all the things that you just end up with so many questions as to like, what's gone wrong? Have I caused anything? Have I done something to potentially cause this? Obviously, it's genetics. So the genetics and the DNA are already in the egg and they're already in the sperm, like when you're conceiving. So it's not like like the mutation or the deletion or whatever's caused it is there already. So you have to remind yourself that it's not self-inflicted, it's genetic, it's happened. We then got put into a waiting room itself on its own called the Bluebird room, which we know from when we had Archie, they had a Bluebird room at Milton Keynes Hospital, and let's just say that room doesn't have good connotations. So yeah, anyway, we discussed through all of the options, all of the risks with the surgery. They discussed the procedure, they discussed everything that was going to take place. You go in for a scan. They find like the location of your placenta, they check the placenta's okay, because in amongst all of this, I have a undiagnosed clotting disorder that my blood doesn't clot properly. However, I don't have a formal diagnosis. They're not able to formally diagnose me with something, and whenever I have a procedure or anything, I have to take TXA, which has also caused the issue because I have low PAP-A, or had low PAP-A, so I was having to take aspirin. So before the procedure, I had to stop taking aspirin. I had to take TXA to make sure that when I went into the procedure, I didn't basically bleed too much. So yeah, Jay and I waited in that room for what felt like an eternity. We then went into the scan room, and bearing in mind at this point, the only person who had seen the scan previously for our child was me. Jay wasn't obviously fortunate enough to come into the 12-week scan because we didn't have anyone to look after Archie, so he didn't have anything to kind of compare it to. We just had the photo that we had. So Jay and I went into that scan. And I just remember looking at the screen and thinking that, I said it in my footage, so the clip that would have been before this, the baby at the 12-week scan was not not sitting still. Like the baby was rolling around, moving, kicking their legs, moving their arms. Like they just did not sit still whatsoever. In this scan, there was no movement. They just laid there peacefully. So I knew something kind of felt a little bit weird, so I vocalised it. The consultant put up the screen where they put, if you've had a scan before, you'll kind of recognise it. They make the screen go a little bit red and blue, and you can see where the blood's passing through, like your placenta and through the umbilical cord and stuff. And that was still happening for us. But the consultant put her hand on my hands and basically said, "I'm sorry to have to tell you both this, but your baby's passed away. There's no heartbeat." And in that moment, my world came crashing down even more. It already crashed and crumbled when we'd found out we were at a higher risk. And every time we went through the next stage of testing, it kind of crumbled a little bit more. But that was just... it was devastating. I'd had no signs. So normally if you are having a miscarriage, quite often the things that you hear of, the things that are common, you'll get bleeding, discharge, pain. You might get pain in like your shoulder tip. You'll have some kind of inkling, like your body will let you know that your baby's passed away. We hadn't had anything, and at that point as well, the consultant has said to us, like, we're unsure when your baby's passed away, but they have. It then feels like the longest wait possible because they have to go and get a second opinion, so they have to go and get a second consultant to come and scan, or a second sonographer to come and scan. And they did, and confirmed
confirmed that we'd lost our baby. At that point, they moved us back to the Bluebird room, and I don't really remember a lot after that because I just remember feeling numb. And then they were basically making a decision as to whether it was safe enough to let me go home, whether they wanted me to go through the next stage of having like this miscarriage. Because normally there's 3 options. So you either let it naturally happen, you get given some medication and you will basically give birth, or you have surgery. But because of my clotting condition, they were basically trying to work out like which way is going to be safest, because at that point it's about making sure that I'm okay. It's just tough. So yeah, they referred us back to Milton Keynes. As we were driving home from Oxford, we got a phone call and they were basically like, come in at any point today, we'll check you over, we'll discuss next steps and we will go from there. So Jay and I came home, we saw Archie. Jay took me back to Milton Keynes. We went to EPAU and again sat in waiting rooms with a mixture of people that had been referred there because they were having some kind of issue in their early pregnancy, so they were like before 8 weeks, and there's us sat there at like 14 and a bit days, so it just felt really tough. And then there's also people sat in that waiting room that are just there as routine to have extra scans and stuff because there's just been something that's a little bit concerning. So we sat there for what felt like hours and hours and hours. I got seen by the nurse. They took extra bloods because they basically wanted to check my bloods to see if there was anything in my bloods that could pinpoint why the baby had passed away, even though it's highly likely that it's to do with the Down syndrome. We then saw a consultant to basically discuss through the options. And at that point, you kind of go a bit robotic because you've seen so many medical professionals at that point and you just kind of feel like you're living a nightmare. So we spoke to the consultant, we discussed the options. The natural one was just completely out of the question, mainly because of my clotting thing. We also don't know when the baby passed away, so there's a risk of infection, and like because of my clotting thing, like the infection thing could cause a big problem. So basically my options are either to do it with medication and do it naturally, or to go down the surgery route. With doing it naturally, the risk for me is they can't preempt how much blood there's going to be because of my clotting problem, and they don't necessarily know if that was a risk that they were willing to take. Plus also they were like, at the first sign of anything kind of going a little bit AWOD with the bleeding, if we went down the natural route, they would rush me straight to surgery with like as an emergency straight away. So it was kind of just like, let's just do the surgery. So they were originally looking at getting me in on the Thursday. However, there was someone with a more life-threatening problem that had to be dealt with on the Thursday, and so there wasn't enough slots. But they also had to then look at Friday, and Friday's surgery list was completely full. However, because of my clotting problem, they weren't going to leave me over the weekend. So the consultant went and spoke to the top consultant that was in charge of like all surgeries and stuff for that week, and they made the decision that they were going to cancel someone else's routine surgery because it would be too risky to me and my life to leave me over the weekend. So they bumped someone's surgery. I got put into the first lot of surgery on Friday. So Jay and I came home, and that is where the next clip comes in.
don't necessarily know if filming today in general is going to be a good idea. I'm not entirely sure how I will have edited this video together, whether it will be one, I don't, like, in my head at the minute, I just know that I have so much footage on my phone that was like happy and positive memories that I don't know if I want to put them into a separate video away from all of this. So I probably, in my head, I think I probably will. I genuinely, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to feel. I'm not entirely sure like how to process what is currently going on. It's the day after we found out, the day before I'm due surgery. So as you can imagine, my brain is kind of anxious, terrified, confused, upset, devastated, heartbroken. Almost in some aspects of it, it's kind of numb because I don't know what to like. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to feel. Like, I don't know what I'm walking into tomorrow. I don't know what I'm gonna go through. It's hard, and the only thing that I've said to Jay like throughout this whole process is when I've been trying to find, I've tried to steer clear of like Mumsnet and places like that, because I did post on there originally at the start of like our whole process, and it didn't end that well at all. I've just had an email come through from someone who works with us, and I'm just like, I can't read it, I can't open it. And I posted on there and it wasn't that great. So then it kind of led me to go like, okay, let's go on like TikTok and let's go on YouTube and see if I can find like real case examples and like real people who tell you exactly how it is from the perspective of what you're going through. So yes, like the ARC website, the ARC charity, like are amazing. Like the stuff they've got on there is really helpful, but so is the NHS website and the Gov websites too, with like screening and like testing and like what happens now. However, that just gives you the facts. It doesn't give you the reassurance, and it doesn't always give you the answers to the things that you want specifically. And if you ask like a medical professional, they won't necessarily, there's certain things that then obviously because of their profession they can't talk to you about or say to you. Just feel like I keep replaying what happened yesterday, which was like a whole lot. Just keep replaying it over and over in my head, and I just can't make any sense of it. I just feel like I'm living a nightmare. I'm like hoping and praying I'm going to wake up from it any minute. And I know that that's not the case at all. And it's like I've just got to just get through this as quick, like not as quick as easy, like as in go through the motions, go through the motions of everything, get through it, like the practical stuff, go through that, and then after it will be regrouping. And I'm just blessed to have the husband that I do. He I don't think I'd be able to get through it without him. So I appreciate him more than he'll ever know. I don't think it's right for me to talk about everything that's happened today. I probably will have inserted a clip at some point from the future after today, hopefully, where I talk about what's happened and can put what our experience of what we've gone through out there, so that if anyone goes through what we have and they're looking for just an example of someone that's gone through it in the UK, that's documented their journey from point A to point B, that's what I'm gonna do.
Morning before the operation, we had to get to the hospital for 7:15. So we got up early. Jay took me to the hospital. We got booked in. I got put into the day surgery unit. We got given a private room for obvious reasons. They weren't going to put me onto the day surgery ward with multiple other people, and also because of space. If they'd done that, Jay wouldn't have been able to have stayed with me. And because it's such a personal thing, we've lost our baby. We got given a private room. The anaesthetist came to see me. They basically were like, you're obviously written down here as an emergency. Give me all of like your medical history to do with like the clotting, what pain relief you're allowed. Have you ever had it like a general anaesthetic before? Which I have. I've had it twice. Just kind of like, basically they asked as many questions as they could. I got booked in at that point as well with the nurse. She was lovely. Like, the only thing I could say is like, every single medical professional we've dealt with throughout this process have gone above and beyond every single time. They have been extremely compassionate, extremely caring, have always gone out of their way for us, have always made sure that like they're there at the end of the phone if we need to ask them any questions and stuff. Like, they have just like faultless. They have been amazing. My consultant came to see me, the lady that was carrying out the procedure. She just explained kind of roughly like what was going to happen. I was probably going to be down into theatre and recovery for about an hour, have the procedure done and then come back to the room and recover. If my bleeding was okay, they would look at trying to get me discharged the same day. If not, they were giving me like, look, if we have to play it on the side of caution, then you will stay for at least a night, just so that we can keep an eye on you, so that you're in the best place possible should you need anything. Going down for surgery was hard. I can't even begin to imagine what Jay was going through, like what he was thinking, what he was feeling. Because there was that risk of me, like with any general anaesthetic, there's always a risk. But obviously with clotting and stuff and bleeding and the procedure they're carrying out, like it has its own risks. And then just with my health conditions and stuff, it's risky as well. So I can't even begin to imagine what was going through his head. And having to sit in that room on his own and just wait. It must have been so tough. So yeah, the guy that came to get me to take me down to the theatre, he was so reassuring. He said that this they'd lost their first baby and his wife had to have surgery. And obviously we were discussing about the fact that it was my second child that we've lost. And I was just saying to him, like, I couldn't even begin to imagine what it would be like if it was our first. It's so hard with our second. But he was basically like, it happened to us the first time we fell pregnant and I've had 3 children. And he was like, one of them's at uni about to finish, one of them's just doing their GCSEs, and like he was like the other one is like picking their GCSEs or something. He was like, so this stuff happens and it's sad. And he was like, but like I totally understand how you're feeling, like we've been through it. And he like was really reassuring when he took me into theatre. I remember being wheeled into theatre number 4. That's always going to stay with me. I remember going in and there was a head nurse there. He was basically asking all about my health conditions and stuff. Then there was an anaesthetic nurse there that was putting in my cannula, and then there was another nurse putting like stuff onto my chest and stuff to obviously monitor my heart and stuff. And then there was just another nurse there just as an assistant. They then put me to sleep. I won't forget that. I won't forget that at all. And then I just remember waking up in recovery, shivering, which is normal. The lady in there was so lovely. I just remember being really emotional. A bit like now. I think it was more of the relief of, I'm okay, I've come out the other side, like physically okay. And then they took me back to Jay in the room, and I just remember breaking down. And seeing him, and just the relief of being back with him. I honestly, I think I said some hilarious things whilst I was there. I'm pretty sure I kept singing the Wiggles as well. I had a lot of pain relief in my system at that point. Was a little bit doolally. They then came to check on me. My blood pressure was quite low. Still has been quite low. Every single day we've been checking it. It's been very, very low. But I suffer with low blood pressure anyway. But it's obviously just a little bit lower. I just found it really ironic. Like, I'm not a person that likes a lot of attention, and I had like 3 people trying to get me to go to the toilet at the same time, and I was like, dude, like, guys, I'm fine. I just need to go to the toilet, just need to have a wee, and then that's it. They got me to drink water, they got me to eat, and then that will be the next clip, me in hospital.
Feels a bit weird vlogging in hospital, but it's been like 2 and a bit hours since I've woken up, and I'm okay. That's the main thing. My blood pressure's a bit low, so they're monitoring. Bleeding seems to be okay. Clotting problem seems to be handling it fine. Jay's just used the opportunity whilst I've eaten something and I'm drinking to run to the car, grab some bits, and then he's gonna come back. But I just feel so out of it. I have no concept of time, and I just feel so tired. And I just want to get home to Archie. Like, I'm just so fortunate in this situation that I have a little boy at home already. I know it doesn't take away the gravity of the situation and like what we're going through. Still sad, but just thankful I've got Arch and I've got Jay, and right now that's all that matters. Probably not gonna film anything else. I'm just gonna focus on trying to get my blood pressure to come back up and follow all the checks and stuff that they're gonna do, and then hopefully I can go home today.
Since leaving hospital, we've come home, I've rested. Jay has honestly been amazing. Just emotionally, we're going through it. Having a toddler, at times is great for the distraction, but at the same time, it also, like, he's gone for his nap, so it's like it's hitting me now, which is why I'm using the opportunity, because I think I just need to talk about it. That's why I've turned the camera on and I'm just filming, because I think I just need to speak about it and just kind of, because it's so hard to just not talk about it. Emotionally, it's tough. When you see stuff on social media where people are announcing they're pregnant, it hits you and you're like, why me? When you unfortunately at the moment we are surrounded by multiple people that are pregnant and expecting, which is, I'm so happy for them, so happy, but I have to be kind to myself and understand that it's hard on us right now, and it's okay for it to be hard. Yeah, we are now just hoping to get some results in the form of a letter or a phone call or something at this point, just to give us a bit of peace of mind as to kind of, have they got anything from the cells and the samples that they will have sent off for analysis to see like what's happened. And then it's just dealing with the emotion side of it and dealing with the recovery that way, and trying to handle the grief. It's Jay and I were having conversations about like it's so hard to process, because when you grieve like any other relative, they've been in the world, you've had memories with them, you've physically touched them, and I carried our baby. I didn't get to meet them in person. I've seen them on a scan. But it's so hard to try and like process. I would personally say that I feel I can tell, so before the surgery, I could still, like, I knew my body, there was, the baby was there, like I knew. Now, I just feel empty, like physically empty, which, obviously, and it's just kind of processing that and coming to terms with that, and just dealing with the emotions and finding a way of, I think for us, we are as a family going to take some time to heal, both, well, me physically and all of us emotionally. But then it's also us finding a way of us remembering the baby, because we don't want to just kind of leave it. I think we're going to get like a plant or a tree or something and a pot, and we are going to have something that grows every single year to remember them. And that's what we're going to do. It's been tough, and I think if I give it a few more days, like after speaking about this here, I think I'm going to give it a few more days, and I'm going to talk about the whole of our journey, just because I want to, I know I struggle to find a situation or a case where I could almost relate to it online. There's so many threads and forums and stuff, and I couldn't find anything that I was able to relate our situation to. And I know that if I was looking for something like that and it wasn't there, I want to use our story and our experience in a positive way to help other people. So I think my video after this one, probably, because I don't necessarily think I'm going to be able to film it before. I'm going to need some time to heal, but I think the video that comes after this will be like a full explanation with, I've still got my medical notes and stuff like that, and I will just explain like everything matter-of-factly for what we've been through, the questions we've asked, the situations we've been in, what we've kind of thought about testing wise and stuff like that. So yeah, losing anyone or losing a baby is tough. This whole situation has thankfully brought Jay and I, didn't even think it was possible, but it's brought us even more closer together than we were. I honestly would not have been able to get through it without him. And it's sad that we've lost a baby, and we're mourning almost the memories of the things that we would have done with them as a part of our family, but it just wasn't meant to be on this situation. But like I said, we're going to use our experience, our memory, what's happened, to hopefully help others, to help people if they're kind of going through it and experiencing it. So yeah, I'm sorry if you've made it to the end and I've been very emotional and crying. I do apologise. Obviously it's a real case situation, a real case scenario, and it's happened to us. But yeah, it's a totally different video to what you would normally expect from me, but we had all of this footage and I didn't want to just delete it. I didn't want to just leave it. It's real life, it's a real case situation. It's like, it's happened, and so many people sadly go through this on a daily, a weekly basis too, and it's not just here, it happens all around the world as well. So it's sad, but it's real life. I will see you in the next video.